What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So after the many weeks, which felt like it was going to be just an endless time, that we were never going to get any insights into Dexter Resurrection outside of casting. We were doing, I think this is now the second, nope, I take that back. We're not even into the first full week of no casting news. There was a casting update last week for two individuals. I almost did a video. I said, we've been going on this trek every week. There's been 1 to 3 castings for almost 2 months. Saw one pop up and I said, nope, not going to do it. Refuse to do any more casting updates for Dexter Resurrection. And I want to see something of a little bit more substance for this series outside of casting updates. So side note, there were 2 casting updates from last week. There are 2 individuals going to be guest starring in the show. Right now, I couldn't even tell you who they are. Don't even remember. I'm sure I could find an article and pull it up, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about a little bit more substance. So as you see from this headline here, in Dexter Resurrection, Michael C. Hall rises from the ashes and hopes to stick around. An exclusive look inside the new Dexter series, which Hall admits will undo the character's previous fate and mark a whole new beginning for TV's most honorable serial killer. So my understanding is we're supposed to get some first look images for the new Dexter Resurrection series. We'll see here in a moment what these images are. I haven't looked at them. I only saw the headline and thought immediately, let's just do a video and we'll look at them together as I do the video. So hopefully in this article as well, we get a little bit more insight into what this series will actually be about. We already have an idea. If you did watch Dexter Original Sin season 1, because they have confirmed they will be doing a season 2, so we can now say that is not a one and done. It's not a series anymore. It's now a seasonal thing. So if you didn't watch that, we did do a week-by-week breakdown episode review of that series. So go check out the playlist that has all those episodes in it, all those videos. But where I was going with this is in the beginning of that series, the very first episode, we see how they're going to start undoing, as it puts here, Dexter's fate. Because again, in New Blood, if you remember, we saw that he was killed, apparently. But then in Dexter Original Sin, it starts off with Dexter being rushed to the hospital, and they get him into an emergency room. They're trying to resurrect him, and that's when we take a deep dive into it. It's shown to us to be his subconscious, but it's now a prequel series. And the way it ended, it didn't end the way I thought it was. I think they ended it the way they did because they were hoping they would get a season 2, and in fact they did, because we never jumped back to the present time of Dexter in the emergency room, right? And I believe that's where this one will pick up, just based on some of the other interviews and things we've covered, like with John Lithgow coming back, and he mentioned he was only there for 1 day of filming in a hospital, which would make sense if he is in the hospital at the beginning of that first episode, that Dexter is having hallucinations and he's seeing the Trinity Killer. That would make sense. So let's jump into these article details and let's see what we got going on. All right, so it looks like we might have our first image here of what Dexter's looking like in this first image for this new show. So let's see. I mean, we obviously see he's got somebody on his kill table, so to speak. Let me just turn this off real quick. He's got somebody on his kill table. Looks like obviously he's angry about something. Let's keep going. All right. So Dexter Morgan knows what the end feels like, and he's not too keen on it. The morally minded serial killer portrayed by Michael C. Hall first showed up in Showtime's Epiness drama series Dexter in the thick of the late 2000s anti-hero boom, alongside Walter White and Don Draper from Walter White from Breaking Bad and Don Draper from Mad Men. Both excellent shows. If I had to choose between the two, and many of you might shout me down on this, I'm going to have to lean more towards Mad Men. And even though Mad Men started to really taper off towards the end of that series run, where it just felt like it was losing its original, I don't know, mojo, so to speak. I love the time period it's set in. I'm a time period piece person, and when Mad Men came out, I just absolutely fell in love with the show. I do enjoy Breaking Bad, but if I'm going to choose between the two, it would be tough because the first few seasons of Breaking Bad, I don't necessarily care for. It's not until the latter seasons when they get into like these massive cooks and these massive laboratories is when I really start to enjoy it. But Mad Men overall, end to end, I did enjoy. The hit show ran for 8 seasons before reaching a widely maligned conclusion, in which Dexter decided to fake his own death and go live as a lumberjack in a secluded mountain town. Hall then reprised the role in a sequel series, New Blood, which ended with Dexter seemingly actually dying at the hands of his son Harrison. That finale was fairly divisive too. Still dead is dead, right? Not quite, it turns out. We thought it would be the end, but he's remarkably resilient, guys, so the possibility was always, at least for me, there. Hall says over Zoom, he's speaking to me on break from a day of production on Dexter Resurrection, whose title should tell you that New Blood was not, in fact, the end. Hall reiterates that he personally pushed to bring his signature character back to TV. He called Clyde Phillips, Dexter's original showrunner and New Blood's creator, to see what could be done. Here's how Phillips remembers the pitch. Michael said, "Dexter is in my bones, and I know what's in your bones, Clyde. Can you figure out a way to undo what we did at the end of New Blood? Is there a way to make him survive?" Within a week, Phillips and fellow executive producer Scott Reynolds came up with an idea. They told Hall it was a yes. All right, let's keep going. All right, so we got some more images here. I assume are from the first look of Dexter Resurrection. Not sure who this character is. Can't really tell like what his name is or what's on this patch, like what it says. So can't really tell what that is. But it looks like he's obviously at a crime scene. I mean, this is crime scene, do not cross. So he's obviously there. Might be, who knows who he is. Again, I'm not sure who that even is as an actor. They put a Resurrection writer's room together while shooting Original Sin, a prequel starring Patrick Gibson as Dexter in his 20s, set about 15 years before the events of the initial series. Sin's first season, which concluded in February, it's been renewed for a second season, has turned out to be a crucial text. It's narrated by Hall's Dexter in the immediate aftermath of New Blood as he's revived by doctors. His life flashes before his, or really our eyes. He looks back on how he got into killing for justice in the first place. So let's keep going down a little bit more. That just talks more about Original Sin, which we've spent a lot of time doing, so I don't want to waste time on that. Let's see here. Premiering this summer on Paramount Plus with Showtime, Resurrection takes place a few weeks after New Blood and is framed by the intense dynamic between father and son. Dexter chases a missing Harrison to New York City, where David Zayas' Captain Angel Batista is hot on their trail from way down in Miami. Zayas is far from the original cast member returning. John Lithgow, Jimmy Smits will be in for a minute, Phillips says, referring to their beloved respective roles of Trinity Killer and ADA Miguel Parado. Dexter's late adoptive father, Harry, who instilled the code of killing in his son, will return in ghost form, again portrayed by James Remmer. Then there's the matter of Harrison. It's safe to say he'll play a prominent role. So this is something I even mentioned throughout Original Sin, and every time we've covered Resurrection with David Zaya's character Angel Batista. I was wondering, because we knew he was coming back, we just didn't know in what way, shape, or form, and we didn't know if it was just going to be one of those things where someone goes down to Miami, asked about Dexter, and Dexter died X number of years ago, this is how it happened, and that it's just more of a cameo. But we had speculated that Angel could be used as a way to, if he hears about Dexter or sees a picture or something where he's asked about him, then he realizes that Dexter is still alive and goes looking for him, because he disappears, Deb disappeared right from the hospital. So this is interesting to see that they're saying that Angel Batista is hot on their trail from Miami. So that's interesting to know. Sounds like he'll be playing a more predominant role here. All right, so we have our first picture of Dexter here with Ghost Dad in the background. Looking a little bit darker, I guess. Is that the best way to put it? He's not I mean, he never was always clean shaven, but I mean, just his look, his demeanor, the way his eyes look, he looks a little bit more, I don't know, evil, I guess is the best way to put it. I mean, he's a serial killer, obviously, but a little bit more evil. Got the whole black clothing look going. All right, let's keep going. Dexter has a lot of hesitation about making contact, which is a fundamental part of the tension that is pervasive for the first bit of the season, Hall says. Harrison revealed himself to be and remains an all the more potent connection to Dexter's tiny sense of humanity. He craves it in spite of himself, so it's a major bolt of thread running through his interior life and the life of the season. Phillips added that Dexter's search for his son intersects with the reemergence of his father's physical memory. Dexter finds Harrison fairly quickly. Then he asks Harry, do I reveal myself to him? It is going to screw him up to have a zombie dad at the dramatical right moment. Phillips teases father and son resume contact. Dexter is determined to make sure that he has a solid and, more importantly, honest and loving relationship with his son. All right. So we have our next bit of first images here. So we do know these two are supposed to be specifically Peter Dinklage is supposed to be the main villain, so to speak, in this series, which we have him here. So let's go down a little bit more, and this goes off on some of the cast that we've talked about with Neil Patrick Harris, Kristen Ritter, Eric Stonestreet, so on and so forth, David Dismachin, so Uma Thurman right here. So let's keep going. We talked about that. So right here, Peter Dinklage as a billionaire venture capitalist with a dark side, and Oscar nominee Uma Thurman as his mysterious head of security. When Uma first came to the set, the whole set changed. In walks this movie star, and she has presence, Phillips says, but nobody gets a call sheet like this, particularly on a TV show. I guess it shows that we're more than just a TV show. People want to work with Michael. All right, so we have another image here of Dexter. Looks like he's in obviously the New York subway. I can't tell if he's injured. I mean, he's leaning up against this post as if he's injured or just maybe tired from running, but he doesn't have any blood on his hands. Nothing on his clothes indicate he's bleeding anywhere. So unless he's just being chased through the subway, and this is where he finally either gets trapped and either jumps onto the subway as it's getting ready to leave, like the subway car right here. But the door is closed already, so unless it's about to open or he's waiting for it to open, then jump on. That's the only thing I can speculate there. A native of, let's see here. A native of North Carolina, Hall completed. So we just go into a little bit of background about Michael C. Hall, which I don't think we necessarily need to cover. Doesn't really give us anything about the show. All right, so we have more images here. All right, so we have Batista here. He doesn't look different. He doesn't look all that different than what I remember him looking like in the original series. He's looking pretty good, aged really well, still got like the classic hat on. We have that other individual here. Oh, so okay, that's Harrison. So now we have the name, and it says here on his patch. So I'll put the link for this article in the description of this video, but on his patch it says the Empire Hotel, and underneath it says Harrison. So that image that we saw above didn't know who it was as far as who it could be, and didn't know as far as the patch goes what it said, but it is Harrison. Don't know if this is just a coworker, girlfriend, who knows. Batista looks like he's at a hotel, in a hotel. It could be the same hotel that Harrison is working in, just based on the aesthetics in the background. It looks like it could in fact be. I mean, like this wall right here, looks like it's the same type of bricking wall that's behind Batista, so they could be in the same hotel for this particular scene or episode. A little bit more on the article. Again, not much to do with the show. It's talking about Original Sin, New Blood, which we've covered off. All right, with two more images here. Not too sure who this is. Oh, okay, so they got a badge on, so obviously police. He doesn't have a badge, so he could be police, may not be police, but I'd imagine he probably is. We have Michael C. Hall here at a dinner table. Not sure who these individuals are or what this could be reflecting. All right, let's keep going. And then we have is this the final image? Yeah, final image right here. I mean, he hasn't aged all that bad considering how old the original series was and how far removed we are from New Blood. So So yeah, those are our first look images, exclusive images of Dexter Resurrection, and we have a little bit more insight specifically for Batista's role, and the fact that Dexter's going to be, why he's going to New York is to track down Harrison. See, Harrison looks like he's working at a hotel. He's not hiding the fact of who he is. He's using his real name. And we got to see the first look images of Peter and Uma as well, who again are supposed to be the main villains in this series. So, all right, everyone, that's going to do it for this horror news update for Dexter Resurrection. Again, our exclusive first look images. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Are you looking forward to? Are you interested in seeing Dexter Resurrection? Also, let me know if you've checked out Dexter Original Sin. Again, we do have a playlist where we did an episode by episode breakdown, so make sure you check that out. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Later.